Hey everyone, this is Megan Rovnak from 10X. I am here with my colleague Gail, who will introduce herself in just a moment, and we're going to get started with our weekly training session. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 A's, and I'm going to make you wait to know what those 3 A's are to help you figure out when you've hit a challenge or you've hit a roadblock, what it is that's causing you a challenge and how you can take care of it. Gail?
Hi, my name is Gail Cobflesh. I'm also with 10X. Often, Oftentimes in school, you'll see us as Coach Megan and Coach Gail. Um, and like Megan said, we're here to talk about the 3 A's, how to be successful and overcome challenges. And I think today is going to be a great day.
Today is going to be a great day, Gail. Thank you.
Yeah,
So, today, we want to talk about what do you do when you feel like you're stuck in your business? And I think at some point, this happens to everyone, whether you're the business owner or you work for somebody else. Honestly, you hit a point where you're just like, golly, I'm not getting done the things I want to get done. I'm not hitting my targets. I'm not meeting my goals. What is going on? How do you go about diagnosing what the challenge is? What do you look at? What indicators do you look for? And then what do you do about it? So, a really good rule of thumb for this is to look at the 3 A's. First, you look at your activity, then you look at your attitude, and you look at your approach. You don't actually have to do it in that order, but those are the 3 things that you want to look at: the activity that you're putting into it, the attitude that you have, and the approach that you're taking. So, with your activity, let's say that you are like, gosh, I wanted to get 10 new clients this week, or I wanted to get 100 new clients this week, whatever number you like. Let's say 100 new clients. I want to get 100 new clients this week, and I only got 50, or I only got 30, or gosh, I only got 5. Well, last week I got 100 new clients, or last month I was able to get 100 new clients each week. Why didn't I get 100 new clients this week? So the first thing you're going to look at is your activity. Well, last month when you were getting 100 new clients, you were making 500 calls or 1,000 calls. And this week, it turns out you were only making 500 calls. Well, that might tell you why you're not getting the clients. You're not doing as many meetings. This is why KPIs, key performance indicators, and statistics, and tracking your data and having goals and tracking your metrics and your numbers is so important, because you can't tell what you're doing differently if you're not tracking what it is you're doing. So you set yourself a goal, and if your goal is 100 clients, and you figure out, let's do easy numbers, 10 clients, your goal is 10 new clients, and you figure out that for every 100 people you talk to and give an actual proposal to, you always need to give somebody a written proposal every single time, no matter what. Because if you don't ask, they can't say yes. So
right,
not asking the question, not giving the proposal, not making the offer, clearly making the offer for them to say yes or no to, preferably yes, then you haven't done your part in ensuring that you can have that new client. So, activity. And so, those are the different things that you want to look at. You want to make sure you have those metrics. So, you're like, okay, if I talk to 100 people and give 100 people proposals, I get 10 new clients. Now, you know, after you've figured that out and you've tracked that for a while, and you're like, okay, this is the number I have to hit. This is the activity that I need to do, the level of activity that I need to do to achieve that goal that I have. Now you know. So let's say you decide to change your goal to 100 clients. Well, now you already know how many people you need to talk to. You need to talk to 1,000 people to have 100 clients, because you can scale that number. And if you personally can't talk to 1,000 because there's just not enough hours in the day, then you get new people. And that's how you know you're ready to grow. That's one of the indicators for what you're going to do next in your business, for how you're going to structure and strategically grow and scale your business. So, activity is one of the really key elements of identifying, am I doing the things I need to do? If I'm stuck, one of the things you want to make sure that you're looking at, one of the things I want to make sure I'm looking at is, am I doing enough activity? Gail, do you have any thoughts on activity?
just it's that whole 10X thing, right? 10X your actions, um, and always remembering that oftentimes it takes much more activity than we think it's going to. So do more, right? Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If you do more activity than what you think you need, um, at at worst you're going to get more clients, right? So 10x your activity, 10x your actions, and you will see a result. The only other thing that I was going to say is, and this works across the board in your life. It definitely works in your business, or if you're an employee, it works in your health, it works in your friendships. You know, if you're having a relationship that's having problems, look at your activity, right? Are you pouring into that relationship? Um, you know, if you feel like you're losing touch with your community, are you being involved in community events? So this works everywhere. So this is one of those things that you just has to become rote as part of your of the way you look at things anytime you feel like you're stuck.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Thank you. It applies just in all elements of your life. And I would say the same for the other two is the next one would be
Yeah,
attitude. So let's say you're putting in the work, the activity is happening. You are talking to
right.
100 people every week to get your 10 clients, but you're still not getting them. You're like, well, gosh, 2 weeks ago, 100 discussions ended with 10 clients. Why aren't those 100 discussions still getting me 10 clients? Well, how's your attitude? Have you had has something bad happen at home or maybe on your way to work or just in life in general? You're tired, you're run down, something's going on outside of work. Maybe you're in the middle of selling a house, you're in the middle of moving, right? Something and you're bringing that to work with you and that attitude is showing. It is amazing how much and we often don't realize it because we think we're leaving
Right.
it at the door, but if you're not intentionally leaving it at the door, like you're not remaining really aware of what is different about what you're doing or what the environment is, whether it's the activity, the attitude, or the approach, then you don't even realize that you're just, people really enjoyed being around you because you were super positive. You were always like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to achieve that. And now you're just like, uh-huh, okay, yep, uh-huh. And so it doesn't even have to be a bad attitude. It can just be a less attitude. It can
Right.
just be a less energy attitude. And that can make such a difference. The way people respond to you because the energy you put out will often create the energy that you get back. Other people might be
Right.
super positive, but if they're around you for any length of time, you might wear them down, not intentionally. So you have to be like
Yeah.
super aware of that and hyper aware. Once you recognize that something is going on, but you haven't been able to put your finger on it, and you've looked at your activity, then look at your attitude and be like, gosh, has my attitude changed? Why? Because if you recognize that it has changed, then figure out why and fix it, or just fix it, and be really thoughtful and conscious about what that attitude looks like. Gail, any thoughts on attitude?
Well, yeah, going back to the same, you know, the your favorite quote and mine, right? What you say is what you think is what you say is what you do is what you're known for, and what you're known for becomes your legacy. And it all starts with what you think. So check your attitude. Are you not are you talking to your customer but you're thinking about your grandma, right? Are you um are you upbeat, or like Megan said, did something happen? And it doesn't have to be business. It doesn't have to be business. And so sometimes we just have to make that conscious decision to take control of our thoughts. You know, I am going to capture that thought. I am going to capture this attitude, and I am going to give the attitude that my customer needs and deserves.
Yeah, that is a great point. And the what you're thinking, right, turns into
Right.
your words, and that can make such a difference.
Right.
And it can be what's happening at work. I gave a lot of
Sure.
examples of things that could be happening outside of work, but it could be something that
Yeah.
happened at work. And one of the things when you're in a position where you are giving proposals, having sales conversations, and trying to sell something to people, failure can get really challenging if you don't have the mindset, if you're not ready for it, if you don't have the
Right.
right attitude and you're not fortified against it and you're not There are a lot of different ways to do that, and everybody's individual. One of the great ways is to gamify it, right? Instead, and so stop talking about or thinking about or focusing on how many clients am I going to get
Right.
today, and instead focus on how many calls am I going to make, how many proposals am I
Right.
going to make, how many people am I going to talk to, how many people are going to say no, because every person that says no gets me one person closer to the person that's going to say yes. And that's a very different way to
Yeah.
look at those conversations. One
Right.
way that I suggest people think about it is you have a service or a product that you're offering, and you're doing that because you genuinely believe that you can make somebody's life better for doing it. Somebody out there, many somebodies out there are going to
Yes.
benefit once they are able to find out what it is that you're offering so they can get that, because it's going to make their lives better. But the only way that you're going to find them, and I liken it to be in the middle of a huge crowd, and you're walking through that crowd and you're like all pressed in, and to find those people, you have to touch each person and be like, are you the person I need to talk to? And they're like, no. Are you the person I need to talk to? No. Are you the, and you might have to get through 100 people before you touch the 101st person, 101st person. And they're like, yes, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you found me. But the only way that you found them was because you talked to the other 100 people. I
Right.
think it was Thomas Edison that had it was his assistant that asked him a question at like, I don't know, number 8,162 failures was the way that the assistant named it. Like, how do you keep going after you failed this many times? And Thomas Edison's response was, I figured out eight, I got to remember what that number is. Maybe it's 9,104. I figured out 9,104 ways not to do it. What do you mean I failed? I'm 9,104 ways closer to figuring this out. So it is an attitude, it's a mindset. It can really make a big
Right.
difference, but it can be what happens in your business too. So it doesn't
Yeah.
just mean that has to be something that happens at home.
Right. And but to that point, um, it's it's easy to say, check your attitude. Be mindful of your mindset, right? Um, when you go out and you touch that 101 people, that's your activity, but how did you touch them? That's kind of your mindset, right? Um, and one of the things that works for me is I have to make a conscious decision that I am not bringing the no from the client I spoke to before into my next meeting. I'm leaving that client in that room where I met with them on that phone call, whatever. And uh, one of the visuals that I use for that is if you've ever seen a doctor or a veterinarian who has lost a patient, you take a moment, you grieve, but when you go see your next patient, you cannot bring that sorrow, that sadness, or that loss to your next patient because they deserve 100% of what you're about to give. And so, for me, that visual is I'm going, I'm going to set aside what that was, and I'm walking into this new meeting with 100% because that 100% is for my client.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we made it through activity and attitude, the third one. So people that have been around the block have done a lot of things. They have a strong background in these elements. They probably know that these are the kinds of things that they need to look at.
Yeah.
But I find the reminders of something like this are so valuable over time because I learn so many things and I implement so many things, and then I get busy and do something else, and then I forget what I implemented, and then I have to go back and I forgot what I learned. I think that it's something like you remember 10% of what you learn after you hear it, and then every time you hear it, you learn more. It hits a little bit differently. So I find that going through something like this to be super valuable, just to remind me, oh, that's right, I do need to look at that, especially when we have transitions in our lives and we change from one job to another job or one kind of position to another position, what a difference that it makes. So, activity, attitude, and finally, approach. So, people sometimes could confuse either activity or attitude with approach, especially the attitude. Maybe they're like, oh, attitude and approach are the same thing. But the approach is more the technical aspects of the activity that you're doing. So it's not so much
Mhm.
how much activity or the kind of activity. It's not so much the mindset that you bring to the activity, it's the actual way you're doing the activity. Are you doing the activity in the most effective way? So, for instance, if you're making phone calls to potential clients, maybe you need to change your script. Maybe you need to talk about it differently, right? If you find maybe 2 weeks ago it worked great and for whatever reason it's not hitting the way that it hit 2 weeks ago. Maybe you change the type of people that you're calling and talking to. Maybe the environment has changed, right? Like people that continue to talk about, for anybody else here that knows what a BlackBerry is, you continued to talk about Blackberries. Like if you were trying to sell people phone plans or you're trying to sell them different kinds of electronics or gadgets, and you were the Blackberry person, and all you ever talked about was Blackberry, and Blackberry's going out of style, and you weren't paying enough attention, and you had other options of things that you could be selling them other than a Blackberry, because really your job was just to sell them some kind of a handheld device, but you were stuck on the Blackberry. Well, there you go. Like if you were focused on something that people weren't interested in anymore, then your approach was the challenge. That's the thing that needed to change. So you just have to figure out if your activity is good, your attitude is good, then you definitely need to take a really close look at your approach. It probably needs changed or refreshed or in some other way adjusted so that you're starting to get back to where you were, achieving your goals and hitting your targets.
Right. And I think we're going to talk about um, the 7 aspects here in just a second. Are we not going to touch on them?
Well, yeah, well, I'll
Yeah.
quickly go through them, so and then I wanna
Yeah.
see, how we could help Brad specifically since he's
Right.
on the call today.
So the thing I was going to add to that is, oftentimes when we become successful in something, we shortcut it to what we think are the key points that worked,
Mhm.
and we lose some of the other, necessary but less flashy parts of our process, of our approach, right? And sometimes, like if I hit 4 or 5 clients who were absolutely ready to buy, and all I had to do is tell them the topic and show them a demo and they're in, right? Well, the next 100 clients I call or potential clients I call, if I try to do that same thing with them, they're not ready, right? They're not ready yet for that quick of a sale. So I need to go back to the beginning. I need to go back and make sure that I brought all my cards and went through all my process that I know I need to. So um so yeah, it's often as much us as well as our clients. The environment may be different. It may be winter time or before it was summertime. Um, you name it. It could be a lot of different things. But going back to the beginning when you get stuck, it's great when you're doing well. Keep it up. But when you hit that plateau, when you hit that challenge, you know, every batter I know in baseball that I've heard of goes back to their coach and they re-examine their swing, right? So,
Yeah, I think that's a really good that go back to the beginning, kind of a go back to the fundamentals sort of thing. I think
mhm,
that's a really good point to make because I think it's really true that sometimes we get so comfortable with what we've done or we feel like we've got it,
mhm,
so and we feel like we've cut out the fluff. Well, it just
right,
depends, right? Sometimes the fluff was really important and it really wasn't cutting out the fluff, it was cutting corners.
right,
And you didn't even realize that you started to do it. So approach is
right.
another really good one. Absolutely. So thank you.
Mhm.
So Brad, before we move on, does any of this resonate with you? Do you have any challenges right now that you would like to talk about that we could discuss with you that we might be able to help with?
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys are talking about, I mean, it's like it's spot on everything, let me see, I was taking notes on the other page here, but I mean, again, like you said, like the activity and stuff like that, and it's like,
Mhm.
you can go out there as a business owner, you can work hard, sometimes I work 24 hours in a row, sometimes I go 48 hours, like no sleep, just grinding. And, like you're fueled by like, man, everything's going well, everything's perfect. And then you get smacked in the face with like, hey, this happened or this happened, and you got to kind of like reset. And then, like you said, because your attitude starts to change a little bit, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know, you start like, maybe you start like losing trust in some of your customers and stuff like that, or even the guys that are working for you. It's like, you kind of lose your trust. Maybe I don't trust them to show up to work. So then, well, guess what? Now that you have a bad attitude with them, like in my opinion, it's possible maybe I could be forcing them, to not want to show up the next day because I'm like, hey, you're not going to show up anyways. And then, so I, like you said, I guess just changing that approach and then going about that. But, like Gail was saying, just that's where I'm at right now. I'm just kind of like, I took a little hard reset to kind of go back to the fundamentals because just kind of ripping and running and throwing everything everywhere and getting it done and everybody's happy, no problem. But it's just one of those things. Is then I got to go home and I got a mountain of paperwork, a mountain of receipts. I've got accounting, I've got taxes due. You know what I mean? So and you want to be compliant and because so you can stay in business. So that's
Right.
where I'm at right now. I'm just basically finishing up on squaring up those fundamentals. Like I said, Megan's helped me a lot. Try to, basically get me in the door with the automation piece and stuff like that. And I'm working around the clock, trying to tap into that here and there, But like that's what I need to do. I just need to set aside the time and properly do it and make that that effort that you're that you need to do. It's valuable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The other thing to think about is multiplying your time by identifying the moneymaker activities that you have to be the one that does, and then which activities you can pass off to other people. So that is another
Right.
when you're talking about activity, that's one of the things to think about is what activities am I doing that either I shouldn't be doing or aren't the right activities for me to be doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And Brad, one of the things you said is you're taking a hard reset to go back and look, right? So kudos, absolute kudos, because one of the things that part of my history has been in IT, right? And software development, and the word agile is in there, right? And so many people think that agile means just go do, just don't worry about spending time planning, just go do. And and really that planning, oftentimes it's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it's necessary. And so kudos for stopping and going, all right, what do I need to change? And let me plan out that change so I'm making changes that make sense. Um, and and you can then, like Megan says, if you know what you have to do and you know what others can do, now you're multiplying. But if you just try to say, I'm going to hire an assistant and I'm going to have him shadow me so that he can become me, you know, well, that's not necessarily going to help either one of you.
Yeah,
So,
Yep.
that's
way to go.
fantastic. Brad, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, yeah, I agree. Absolutely, Gail. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's go on. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we can deep dive into this at
Mm.
another time, but we were talking about it and we just thought this would be a good thing to just go through as sort of a things to keep in mind. We deep dived on the 3 A's, the activity, attitude, approach when you're having challenges. Now we're going to talk a little bit about things that you can think about how you can incorporate this in your day-to-day business. So one of the things that Grant talks about is the 7 promotes. And I think he talked about it in his book, Sell or Be Sold. So it's a good place to look for it. But the quick overview of that is one, you promote the benefits of your product, right? You want to focus on the benefits of your product or service rather than just the features. So what does that mean? What does benefits versus features mean?
Right.
So a feature, if we're going to talk about cars, right? A feature might be that you can connect the music to your phone, like it's from your phone. And so that this is really cool feature back when that was a new feature, right? It's a really cool feature. And that is awesome. And it's so cool that you can do that. But you want to take it that one step further and talk about the benefit. This means that you get to listen to your music the way you like to listen to it, the way you've designed it, the way you've curated it on your phone. Not only that, but you can set up playlists that are just for when you're in the car, and all you have to do is just boop, turn it on, right? So you talk about the benefit and understanding the difference between features and benefits. You want to make sure that you take that step beyond talking about the feature and ensure that you promote the benefit of the product or that feature of the product. So another one that you always want to promote is the difference. You want to highlight what makes your product or service different from the competition. And here's something that's really important to remember. You are always one of the things that differentiates your product or service from your competitor, because your
Right.
competitor doesn't have you.
You.
So no matter what else, that difference is always there. You could be selling the exact same thing. You could be selling the same phone. You could be selling the same dishwasher. You could be selling the same cellular service, but it doesn't come with you. It doesn't come with your service. It doesn't come with your commitment. It doesn't come with you as the value add to their experience and as the value add to the service that they're going to get. So there are a lot of that you can consider and identify, but one of the ones that's really important to focus on is you are always going to be a critical difference between what you are selling
Right.
them and what your competitors are selling. Another one, of course, is price. You always want to emphasize value and affordability of your product or service. So here, this one can be tough. This is one that sometimes people can have a hard time with because they're like, yeah, but it costs more. It's not about cost. It's about value. And those are different things. You can buy something and you can go into the example of something can cost you $10 or it can cost you $50. And it appears to be the same thing. So, of course, you're just going to pay the $10. Well, one of the big differences might be the $10 version breaks after a week. So you have to buy another one. And then a week later, another one. And then a week later, another one. Meanwhile, the $50 one's going to last for a year. So which one is actually the better value? And again, this comes with you. And you are part of the value of that product or service, the service you provide, the value you bring to the table. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And this comes back to mindset and knowing yourself and understanding your value and being sold on yourself. Those are really important things to make sure that you already have done and that you are very upfront and straightforward. I actually remember I was shopping insurance one time. This was probably 8 or 9 years ago. And we'd had the same insurance agent for years at that point. And we'd been with the same company. My parents are with that company. And I remember I shopped it and it was like, I don't know, $100 or $200 difference. And at that point in my life, it felt like a big difference, even though it was like $200 in it for a year, felt like a big difference. And I called and I talked to him about it because I knew him, not like we were buddies, but I knew him. And he actually said, he's like, I give you really good service. Like I think I'm worth an extra $100 a year. And he just straight up said it that way. And you know what? Stayed with him. And he did. He provided great service. So he really did make the difference. And he really did add that value that made it worth the extra cost. So it's about value, not cost. So another one of the promotes that you want to consider is the confidence. Always be confident in yourself, your product, and your ability to sell. So I was talking about this just a moment ago. You got to be sold on yourself. So you want to promote your confidence. You want to exude the confidence in your service, in your product, in yourself, in the value, so that the other person feels it, almost so it washes over them. Urgency. This is a really important one. You always want to create a sense of urgency to encourage immediate action from your customer. Now, why is this? So you want to bring the value of your product or service to that customer as fast as possible because you know it's going to make their lives better. It's going to solve a problem for them. That's the whole reason that you're doing whatever it is you're doing, is to solve a problem for them. The faster you solve the problem, the better off they're going to be. So always promoting a sense of urgency in your product and your offers is valuable. You definitely want to promote satisfaction. You want to ensure that customer satisfaction by delivering on your promises. You want to make sure that you know your other customers are satisfied, that they know your other customers are satisfied, and that their satisfaction is number one for you. You will fix a problem. One of the things that I love that Grant talks about that I think is such a valuable way to think about things is he loves it when somebody brings him a problem because it gives him another opportunity to solve a problem, help a person, and sell a customer. So he is never shied away, or he doesn't shy away from the problems. He's like, I will take the complaint call. And then he ends up selling them another product because their complaint wasn't so much actually about the product. The complaint was that maybe they didn't get the right product, or they didn't get enough product. It wasn't really that the product wasn't good, it just wasn't the exact right fit. So always make sure that you are ensuring that your customers are satisfied, and that you make sure they know that that is your intention from the beginning. Don't make that something that they find out when they have a problem that they call you and talk to you about. Well, we're going to make sure you're satisfied. No, no. Part of the value of the product and service that you want to make sure that you promote is that customer satisfaction.
Right.
And then number 7, finally, is promoting referrals. Always encourage satisfied customers to refer others for your product or service. Just say it to them. It's like a written proposal. If you don't ask for it, if you don't say it, then why are they going to think about it? This is not like what they do for a living. This is not their job. Be very clear and ask for it. Maybe provide a percentage off, a kickback, whatever. But at a minimum, just say to them, hey, do you know anyone else that could get value out of this product or service? And then when they're like, oh, I'm not sure. Well, if you had to guess, who might be interested in this? And a lot of times, that second time you ask the question, when you ask it, just guess, they already probably had somebody in their mind. And that allows them the space to just guess a name for you to reach out to. And ultimately, you're trying to
Right.
help them too. So those are the big 7 promotes: the benefits, the difference, the price, the confidence, the urgency, the satisfaction, and promoting referrals. Anything you want to add, Gail?
Oh, there, like you say, we could deep dive into this another day because there is so much to talk about in there.
Right.
So with that, I will say, no, you hit all of them. I think it would maybe be better to see if there's anything Brad wants to deep dive into any one of those that maybe he either wants to brainstorm or wants some clarity on.
That sounds great. Brad, any of those that you would like to focus a little bit more on, or other things that you want to
Yeah,
talk about today, or questions that you have? We're moving into the open Q&A forum.
Sorry, I had an ambulance driving by. No, I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, that's just, the big thing, like, I was talking about is, just, kind of like in a reset period, putting some building blocks, back to the basics, like, Gail said, and trying to get some of that stuff, coordinated, and, just, keep moving forward, a little bit at a time, and then, get everything kind of, like I said, automated, simplify some things, and then, like you said, back, with the customer, the referral piece. I mean, that's huge. Just having that, letting them have that access to you too. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to, like, like you said, if I'm going to do referrals, I just got to kind of think out of the side of the box on that, like how I can do that. You know what I mean? And so I think getting some of that structure that I'm building right now up and running, and then, I could provide them, some type of, I'd imagine, I don't know, what do you think? I mean, there's got to be something I could do?
There is definitely a lot you can
yeah,
do. We want to get your whatever customer list you already have, into the CRM as fast as possible. And
yeah,
then make sure that your Google My Business page is set up,
right,
that you can send out a request for reviews straight
Yep.
from the CRM. And then continue to build that up. And as part of that, you can ask that question. You can do an email campaign for referrals.
Hmm.
You
yeah,
could just set up a whole email campaign and automate it. And once a month, or once every other month, or once a quarter, hey, we really appreciated working with you. Thank you so much for your business. Who else do you know that would benefit from our service? And then maybe you can
right,
do the 10% off for you and
Yeah.
the person that they refer. All of those different really valuable sales techniques that help
right,
both the customer, because they get the benefit of a discount, and their referral, who gets the benefit of your product and a discount.
Yep.
right. And Brad, forgive me for just a second. I don't remember exactly what your business is.
I don't either. No, I do ask. I mean, you guys may. I do different things every day, like pretty much. That's what I kind of enjoy to do. But just anything, just kind of like around like the home. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, okay.
what adds value to your home, comfort to your home, like what's going to make you happy to be there. You know what I mean?
Right,
His
right. Uh,
priority
just
is
we just
your
have to.
property. His priority,
Right,
the motto is his
Ah,
priority is your property.
there you go.
yeah, it is. It is
And
though. I mean, yeah.
the services that he provides are property management and home maintenance.
Okay, so one of the things I was going to say was that, sometimes it's not always just your customers that you want to get referrals from, but those who say no. And this is actually another one that Grant does a fair amount, um, or maybe Brother Dave does, which is, okay, so you don't need a property manager. Well, which of your competitors need a good property manager? Now, first of all, they're not necessarily going to uh, want to give their competitors a leg up. So maybe they'll say, "Oh, no, 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 you stay and work for me," right?
Yeah, that's good.
But the other one is like, we've got one of our clients does websites, and when you come across a website that's really well done, one of the things you can do is say, you don't need to make any changes to yours, but which of your partners, which of your clients do you work with who would benefit from having someone help them become as good as you are, right? And by doing that, you've complimented them, and the likelihood is that they're going to be more receptive to referring you to their friends.
Yep.
So don't lock yourself in the box of just looking at your customers.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Gail. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for highlighting that. You are so right. That is always something you want to keep in mind just because that person says no. I think another one that Grant likes to use is at the end of a call when the person's like, no, thank you, no, thank you, I don't need it. Great, thank you so much. Who do you know that does need this kind of a service? And that's
Right,
another place where you can do the follow. Ah, I can't think of anybody. Well, if you were to just guess, who would you guess? That's another place where you can use that.
yeah,
Who would you guess might need it? Versus
right,
who do you think is just a different way
yeah,
to frame the question than who do you guess? Because who do you guess doesn't leave them with such a sense of responsibility because they just made a guess. It's
right,
just a guess.
yeah.
Awesome. Any other thoughts or anything we can answer or any challenges you're having right now, Brad, that we could provide you some feedback on?
No, no. I mean, like, I mean, it's not really like the customer side. I mean, I mean, like getting customers and like the no. I don't really get too many no's. I mean, because again, I mean, it's not gonna happen. I mean, and I'll do it for free then. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna be my customer in the future too as well. But I think just like obviously finding the right people to help you out and stuff like that.
Right,
I got a really bunch of good people that help me out and it's just one of those things though, there's, I don't know, they're kind of hit and miss. I have a plan though. I mean, to work with them because it's like, I know, there we go. I'm off, but I have a pretty good plan to kind of work around it, and I'm just gonna like keep building towards that plan there to, like I said, if a guy he wants to work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and or you can't work every day consistently, like there's ways to accommodate him, and then kind of capitalize on it. Why let that person go away for that reason.
right,
Yeah.
right. Well, especially if they're good, right? Um, yeah, there's a lot we can do in the area of peopling, right? Getting the right people in place, getting the right partners, and like you said, I mean, the fact that you're willing to capitalize on someone's strengths instead of focusing on their weaknesses, I think is fabulous, and and it's going to get you a lot further than getting rid of people because of their weakness. Um, so
Yeah. Finding the
I,
right fit for people when you're working
yeah,
with them is so important and valuable.
yeah. But the other part of
Awesome.
it is though, when it's not right, when it's not right, right? Um, Brad, you sound like
Yeah.
a really nice guy. It's hard sometimes to say,
Oh yeah.
you know, go. I'm not going to use you anymore, even though I know that you're using the money that I pay you to, send your kid to camp, right? But really, that person needs to go find what fits them the best.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I had an issue with that too as well last week. I mean, because as I'm kind of like rebuilding and setting aside some time to take care of some stuff, like I got a guy that is like, he wants to go all the time. He's always like, where we work, where we're working, when we working. I'm like, look, I got to take a little break, and probably every quarter, man, I'm gonna have to take a week off. So, but I was like, I'm trying to help him develop too as well, and like, again, so I'm trying to help him out too as well, like,
Yeah,
I want him to rely on me, but at the same time, too, like you have to also grow as well.
sure. But if you already know that once a quarter you're going to take a week off, building that into his plan of saying, hey, during this week you can go do whatever it is you want on your own, right? Or um, one of the other parts is you're trying to help him grow, so getting him some training as well. You know, in introducing him to his own coach. Maybe it's us. Maybe we're not the right person for him. But yeah, that's an awesome
Yeah.
mindset of
Yeah.
knowing you have to take care of yourself. Still care about others.
Fantastic. Wow, what a great discussion. Thank you all so much for joining us. I really, Gail, thank you. Appreciate your input as always. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Gail, I will turn it over to you for any final comments.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Uh, when it comes to running your business, anything that you do to value your business, any of the actions you take, the attitude, the actions, and the oh, come on. The other
Approach.
word, I mean, approach. I was going to process, and it's like, no, there's an A word. Uh, so focusing on those is always going to be a way to come back and bring it back so that we can get out of whatever slump we're in. It's been a great conversation. I learn every time I talk to Megan. I learn every time I talk to one of our clients. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the conversation, and I look forward to next week.
Fantastic. Thank you. Same here. And I hope everybody has a great week and talk to you soon.
Bye.